Jnana Chaturunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Apitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Paramami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshikarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Thank you so much for being here. So let's go back. What we've been doing so far is to put the prelude together, put the background together for Bhagavad-Gita as it is. So this presentation is on auspiciousness, Mangala Charan. So to bring the Mangal, auspiciousness, we pray to our teachers, we pray to the Lord, we pray to the energies of the Lord, we pray to the expansions of the Lord, right? And what we have already seen is the setting the scene. We have already seen that. So just a very quick one. Why we read Bhagavad-Gita, was the purpose behind Bhagavad-Gita. We have seen the history of Mahabharata. And very important history of Mahabharata, because there are going to be lots of characters there, especially in the very first chapter, lots of characters. Now, if we don't know all of them, it could be hard for us. It could be hard for us not to relate back to this story. So that's the reason we went into details. We saw all that from where Bhagavad-Gita came in. And this is the one I just showed you, that how it all started from Vedvyasa and Ganeshji. And then Krishna is now giving. So this happened many years back. Well, so Vedvyasa gave Bhagavad-Gita, or all the Shastras, or wrote it or compiled it. So Ganeshji wrote it. So what we say, Vedvyasa compiled it, because some of the knowledge he got it directly. Some of the knowledge he heard it. So for example, Brahmaji said that Krishna said this to me. And Naraji said, oh, right, okay. So there is what we call, and maybe there is a, maybe there's a slide we will see. So we say Smriti. Smriti is in the remembrance. and there is a Shruti. Shruti is what we hear. So when we hear directly, we call it Shruti. And when somebody else heard it, and then from the memory, that person told us something, we call it as Smriti. It's not that person whose message this is. Somebody else got this message, and from the remembrance, he or she told that. So this is Shruti and Smriti. And we have seen the Dhritarashtra, very important. Dhritarashtra said only one verse in the whole Bhagavad Gita, and that is the very first verse. The very first verse of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is said by Dhritarashtra, and that's the only verse he said. And how much we can understand about him from that one verse. Now, this is the skill, this is the observation, this is the analysis. So these days in the industry, a lot of, because everybody is doing digitalization, everything is getting digitalized. So a lot of things. So we had a boiler annual service, and the guy came and there was no paperwork. He had the tablet with him. And there was a time these gas engineers, they used to bring paperwork. Similarly, if you go for the car, they now the nearest one we had, the person did the, so I left the car and I was nearby, and on my email I got the link. If I click on the link, I could see the video of my car, how they are doing the maintenance. So it's that to that level. Otherwise there wasn't, you didn't have the visibility. You would go and the paperwork you have to sign. Now there's no paperwork. Everything is getting digitalized. When we hear this, we understand which age we are in. Now, a lot of things in digitalization, we call it, there's a lot of data, right? That's the reason data scientist is one of those very keen roles. Wherever you go, people are looking for data engineers, data scientists, because they have a lot of data available, but they don't know how to gather it. And that's where the analysts come in. And they call it business analyst, business intelligence. We have the data, and then we develop those highly skilled professionals. They develop the eye for detail. They develop out of, so what we say, there is a data, a lot of data, but from the data, we develop the skills of picking the information. So everything is data, but not everything is useful for us. Not everything is informative for us. So from the data, we figure out what's informative, and that is the difference between data and information. So information is the subset of data, and information is the data organized in a presentation form. Now, that person who just looks at that and could figure out what's important, that's a great skill to have in any profession. Very first verse of Bhagavad Gita, when we read the purport. So when we read the Bhagavad Gita, we have the Sanskrit shlok. If we cannot read Sanskrit or Hindi, because Hindi and Sanskrit are very close to each other, if we cannot read Sanskrit or Hindi, then we can leave that Sanskrit bit for now, but we can go to the English. So the Sanskrit is written in English, and we will see some of them, and then we can read it. Like if somebody will write German in English format, I can read it, but I wouldn't know what I'm saying. I will not figure out what does that mean, but still I can read it. Obviously my accent will be different and all. Something similar. So that script is also there, and there are different fonts of doing it. So in English, so all the Westerners, when they read it in that format. So you can, and that font, you read it, but it's because it's Sanskrit written in English. So that's there. And after that, each and every Sanskrit word has a meaning. And that's what we call word-to-word translation. That's been given in Bhagavad Gita as well. And after that, there is a translation. So Sanskrit was there. No, it's hard to understand Sanskrit. But whichever language, if we read Bhagavad Gita in English, then the English translation is there. If we read it, Bhagavad Gita in Marathi or French or German or Chinese or Russian or Bengali language, what we call Bangla, or Gujarati, Maharashtrian. There are so many different languages. And then all the translations will be in that language. Everything else could be same, but word to word translation will be different as well, because then it will be Sanskrit to that particular language. And you can understand how much hard work has already been gone into it. And Srila Prabhupada ji, one person did that. And then there is a translation of what has been said. But then very important is purport. So if in the verse there are only 2 or 4 lines, translation will be more or less 2 or 4 lines. But then the purport could be 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, or in some cases could be 2 sentences if there is nothing else to say. And that's where the author, who is much more informative, much more wiser than us, much more realized person, has poured down all the intelligence for us. So we read the purport, right? When we read this, so just I like the example of data analysts, data scientists. When they have the data, they could figure out the information out of it because of their experience, because of their skills. Something similar our acharyas did. Sanskrit shlok is there, and then if you want to explain that to someone, we have the purport. So we don't even need the person doing it. We have the procedure in place. All that's already been written. So that's why we all should have our own Bhagavad Gita, where we can think, all right. I always suggest, so there is a bit of argument. Some people say, oh, well, should we have markings? So should we mark? So some people, they mark, some they don't. And there is a mark, oh, Bhagavad Gita is for worship, we should not mark. Some people say that. But some others, they mark it. So I mark it. And my justification is that, of course, I would like to worship Bhagavad Gita. But more than that, I would like to live the information, live the values given in Bhagavad Gita. And for that, I need to understand, I need to realize those. And the way I read it, when I read it, I highlight many things. And if there's a lot of cross-reference, and that's how I remember. I will go to the chapter 6, and if chapter 6, something else is there, which was also there in chapter 2, I will just write it there in small. And then you will know, okay. And it's much easier for revise. Now, of course, you guys been revising for exams. If you have already made the notes, if you have already highlighted things, then when you reach to the point when you need to revise, it's much, much easier to revise it, right? And this is one verse. Now, how much we can understand about the data from the information, how much we can understand when some person speaks. This is a great skill to have. Great skill to have it. There is I don't remember the phrase, but there is a proverb in India. I don't remember the exact words, but it says that if a crow is there, a black crow, and if the crow will go and sit with what we call koyal. I don't know what koyal is in English. Koyal. There must be. If any of you guys know, please let me know.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. That's nice. Well, I've heard of that then. So, yeah. So crow goes, and crow just pretends to be one of them, and then it stays there, right? And no one could figure out that this is crow. Why? Because from the exterior, they all look the same. If we think about, if you go to the temple, a lot of time, we all look the same. So we have the tilak, we have the kurta, and we might have pajama or dhoti. And you might think, oh, they all are devotees. But what's inside? Whether the person from inside is a crow or eagle, how we would know when the person will speak. As soon as the crow will start speaking or try to sing, everybody would figure out this is actually a crow in hiding. And this is what we figure out, that when devotees start speaking. So even in the temple, you would see devotees might talk about Bollywood movies, or there's a new movie coming out. oh, there is a movie which comes on Eid, there is a movie coming on Diwali, there is a movie coming on New Year. Oh, IPL going on. And then who is there? So they are in the temple, but they might talk about what we say subject matter. So what's the subject of their conversation? That will tell us. Now, this is something in the temple, and I'm not saying that cricket is bad or movies are bad, but I'm just giving the example that that's how we figure out. Now, when you guys would go to the university, even in secondary, you guys go around a lot. That you might have to stay somewhere overnight, and you go away from parents. And parents, I think, even in secondary now, in primary, it's much easier. So Shivani is still in primary. We know most of Shivani's friends and all of them. They live around. We know their parents as well. Secondary, you go far and wide, and then parents don't have the visibility all over them. Then it's the responsibility of the child to have that understanding and that vision. So, like what we said, to figure out information out of data. So, when you will meet 10 people, you need to know that with whom you need to associate and with whom you need to keep the distance. And how would you figure out? And there are many different ways. You could see the body language, right? Just by the body language, you could figure out something is wrong there, right? Or when the person will start speaking, most of the time, then it's crystal clear. And again, no offense to anyone, but if somebody would talk about something which you like, then it's obvious, right? So if I like cricket, if somebody else will like cricket, then we will talk about cricket. You will automatically get related. And something like Bhagavad Gita, if somebody else will talk about Bhagavad Gita, we might get it. It's automatic, their interest. But how would you figure out? When you speak to the people, when you have conversation, when you go along with each other. But very soon you need to make the judgment whether you want to spend more and more time with this person or not. Parents are always cautious, and if parents know all the friends, parents always give the advice to the kids, oh, spend more time with that boy or that girl. Oh, don't go near to him. He has always been in trouble. So please keep the distance from him or her. So how do we figure out? Just by the way we speak. There's a verse, there is another Shastra, another book called Nectar of Instruction. A lot of instructions being given there. And they're so beautiful. If we follow those instructions. So one of the way we understand Bhagavad Gita is that Bhagavad Gita is a manual for this body, this human life, right? How we should live our life. And there are mainly three things we say. So the actions we do, and then the words we use, and the thoughts which come in our mind. So thoughts, speech, and the action, bodily action. Those three things. These three things, and it gets subtler and subtler if you think about it. So it's gross if you take action against someone. Then if you say something, it's a bit less bad. And then if you think about, then it's even more subtle because no one else would know. When in spirituality, we say it other way around. Even if you have thought wrong about it, that's a sin, that's a bad karma. You don't really have to do the karma, even if you have thought about it. But the other positive side is, even if you have thought good about it. For example, we were there somewhere, and please, yes, Shivani, sorry, I didn't see your hand. Please.
I have a lot of people in the temple. I've seen them. Sometimes they are pure devotees, but sometimes, let's say, sometimes they put makeup. That doesn't make them unspiritual. They're still spiritual, but they just like to put makeup. And some people also just go to the temple just because somebody said go to the temple instead of actually to know the proper reason to go to the temple.
Very good.
Say if somebody like say if your teacher says revise this verse, you wouldn't just revise it knowing that I have no idea why I'm doing this verse. It's a bit like 11 like, why are you doing 11 plus? You're doing 11 plus not just to get into a good school, but also just to learn.
Great, thank you. Yes, very, very clear and very nicely what you said. That again, it's not to criticize anyone. We don't know, each one of us, we have our personal journey to make it, right? If Ishan will eat dinner, his hunger will get satisfied. Yeah, his parents will still have to do their own karma, right? And it's other way around as well. If I will have the dinner, nice dinner, right? Then Aaron and Shivani, they can't see, oh, my father is satisfied, so I'm satisfied. No, each one of us go our own karma to do. And we should never, if I wear tilak, if somebody else doesn't, if I wear kurta, somebody else doesn't, if somebody else talks about any of those topics, of course, there are few things which are straight away no. But for example, if somebody is pushing someone, beating someone, cursing someone, using the foul language and all, then it's straight away you can say, oops, that's bad. But other things, so it's not black and white. They are like 50 shades of gray. Well, there are many more, but there's a famous book called 50 Shades of Gray. So yes, so it's very important. And this is like from the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, we can learn this. And I was just saying nectar of instruction. There are many instructions being given. And one of the verse, and this is probably the first verse, which says, Vacho vegam mansaha krodha vegam. Vacho vegam. Like the devotees, they should watch what they say. Vacho is your speech. Veg is the speed of it. Or like so yes, what we say, what devotees say, we should always be cautious about it. And if we will, so the example I was saying, and I remember in Dubai, it happened once that I was coming out of the shopping, and there was one Mataji who was coming. Oh, I say Mataji, but she was young, and she had a toddler in the pram. And then for some reason, she got stuck. And I thought that let me go out and help her, because she was the one right at the front. She was crossing the road, and I say road, but we were in the parking still. And so I stopped for her, and I could see she struggled just for a few seconds, and I thought, okay, let me go out and help her. But as soon as I thought, that's it, she got over and she passed it. And then I thought, okay, that thought came in my mind, and I didn't do the action, but still I thought about it. I would consider that's a good karma, right? Even though the karma didn't happen, right? It didn't manifest, but the thought was there, and that was a positive thought. Yeah, that was in mode of goodness, we can see. And many of such things we say, even if we can't do. So if someone is beating someone, for example, if we cannot stop, we should speak. If there is somebody very big beating someone, and we can't stop, because we know if we will stop, that person will beat us as well. Also, better keep the distance and don't get involved. But at least verbally, we can say that what you are doing is wrong. Right? Physically, I can't do anything with you because you're much stronger, but verbally, I can tell you that what you are doing is wrong. And even if you can't say verbally, because you still think you are too close and that person can hurt you, or there could be many reasons, you think in your mind that, oh Krishna, this person is doing wrong. And there is a still impact for those thoughts. And if you think about it, any action we do, it originates from the thoughts. So most of the time when people fight, they don't just see each other and start fighting. They have a thought process, they have a history, or if something happened now, right at the front, they don't know each other. For example, few people were there in the queue and they were pushing each other for some reason, because it must be very massive queue. And one person didn't know, so people didn't know each other, they were just in the queue. So one person just touched other person, right? As soon as he touched it, the other person felt bad, right? And his thought process was why he did it. And then the second step happened, he said it. He said, take care, yeah? Don't just do this. Second thing. And the third thing, if the other person would say something, because the thought's already gone bad, the vocal has already been said, the third thing, physical action, and they might start fighting. And we could have many, many examples like this from Mahabharata, from Ramayana. And these things we understand. So if we go other way around, from the actions, we can see what kind of language the person will speak. From the language, we could see the thought process. And so thought process is so subtle we can't see, but we can hear what the person speaks. We can see what the person does. So maybe we can't see all the time and we can't see the thoughts, but vacho vegam, just the words person use, we can decide if you like to be with the person, or we can see the thought process. Very first verse of Bhagavad Gita said by Dhritarashtra, and we will see by that one verse we could understand how his thought process was. And Srila Prabhupada ji said that, well, after all that analysis, which we will see how much in detail we need to go, but like what Shivani said, we don't need to finish, but we need to understand so we can implement in our life. But Prabhupada ji said that we can understand by this verse that Dhritarashtra was not only physically blind, he was also spiritually blind, right? So Surdas ji was also blind, but he was full of spirituality. He was always in bliss. He was always in bliss. Shivani.
I have a question. You know the person at the very top who has very pale skin?
Yes.
It looks like he's been doing meditation for many years. And as it says, Vayusadava compiler.
Vyasadeva. So Dev, Vyasa. Vyasa is his name. Vyasa. Yeah, because he compiled Vedas, so that's the reason he's called Ved Vyasa. And because he was a spiritual sage, that's why we added Dev at the end, Vyasa Dev, like we say Indra Dev, right? Vayu Dev, Varun Dev. So the Dev, the reason, because they are, if they are good, so we added. So Vyasa Dev, and because he was a compiler, he did not create all those things. All that knowledge was there, and he was the one who compiled them and put it on the paper, let's say, for us as a record. And that's what we can see Mahabharata. Yeah, Mahabharata is.
So he was the one who wrote it.
Well, he, like what we see, well, we can see here, he narrated it and Ganesh ji wrote it.
Because you tell me because he was old, that's why he was the one who named it, right?
Okay. Well, you can say there are many reasons. I think he was not that old that he could not write, but he needed, because he was thinking and he was speaking, right? So he could
do that at the same time.
Yes, he could do both the things, but it's better. And it happens a lot of times that a lot of managers in the companies, they have secretary. And rather than writing their own letter, they will say, okay, I tell you, I narrate you the letter, and the secretary will just make notes, and then secretary will write the letter, and then present the letter to the person and say, this is the letter you want to write or you want to send, and the person might make the corrections and say, yes, that's it. So Ved Vyasji was one of those where he was narrating it to Ganeshji, and Ganeshji was very nice. His intelligence was great. And then he said, sure, I will write it for you if you want. And then Ganeshji said that to Ved Vyasji, that I have, because he was so bright, he wanted to take pride in that as well. Not the material pride, but he said that I have a request that I will write, but you have to continuously speak, because I'm so good. I will keep writing. So don't stop. You have to continuously speak. Ved Vyasji said, okay, I accept your request, but I have a condition as well, that you don't write if you don't understand it. Write after understanding it. So he said something, and while Ganeshji heard it, Ganeshji in his mind thinking, understood, and then Ganeshji wrote it, and Ved Vyasji got that time as a breather to think about what he's going to say next. And that was a process. So he thought, okay, now I will say this. He said something else. Then again, Ganeshji thought about it, Ganeshji wrote it. So Ved Vyasji never stopped, and Ganeshji never wrote anything without understanding. Yeah?
I have another question.
Please.
How can like how can spiritual people, let's say like Indra or like the demigods basically, who
Yeah.
live in the world, how can they just be intelligent? Like how do they go through a process how they become intelligent, or are they just naturally intelligent?
Very nice point. So there is an argument. Well, there is a statement which people argue on, and that is whether genius, genius, the clever, the smart people, whether well, even much more higher degree, whether geniuses are born or are made. Like, could you say, like what Chanakya Pandit did? He said, "This is the boy, and I will make him the king." And he did it. So was it because he saw something in that boy and said, "I will make," and that he has the potential to become the king and he will be the king at some point? Or whether he said, "I have the power that I can make anyone." So was it like when the babies are born, all of them, they are smart and clever and geniuses, or the parents or the teachers, they decide that, okay, this is the child I want to make a genius? The argument goes both ways. Now, there are examples of all. I think Austria or Slovakia, one of them countries, the best 3 chess players are sisters. Well, maybe not now, but there was a time I saw in the interview. So 3 sisters, they are all chess players, and they are the top best chess players in the country. In the country, they are the top best chess players. And the father, in the very young age, decided, because he loved chess, he decided, I'm going to make my 3 daughters chess players. And he did it. Right? So in that scenario, we can say, well, he decided and he could do it. Right? Whether the girls had the potential or not, it's hard to say. But he was the one who made geniuses. And there are many examples. But what you said about demigods, now, demigods are those who in their previous life did a lot of punya, lot of positive, good karmas. Yeah. So it's like when people go on holiday, they enjoy themselves, right? So December is coming, a lot of us going to go on holiday, right? People, when they go on holiday, they enjoy themselves there. Now, somebody could ask whether these people earned their money or somebody gave them the money. How did they got the money that they're enjoying themselves? Now, people don't know, they haven't seen that these people have done hard work before they started their holidays. So similarly, those who are demigods, they're clever, they're smart, they got all the opulences, they're enjoying. Why? Because in the previous life, they did a lot of hard work. However, being devotees, we don't want to go to heaven because we know one day the holiday will finish and then we have to come back on the material planet or on planet Earth. And then we have to start from the scratch because all the punya is gone, right? It's like you earn money, you go on holidays and you are spent all that money. Yes, please.
So that means that when you do like yoga, when you do meditation, and then Shiva or Vishnu or Brahma, or whoever comes and grants you a boon, can you also ask, can I go to the spiritual world, like forever?
You can ask for it, yes, but it won't happen like that. For example, if you will ask someone, that in your company, let's say that shall I go on holiday? Could you send me on holiday forever? Do you think somebody could go on holiday forever? No. You would
Then
say
virtual world.
yes. So it's based on, if you will earn so much money, then yes, you can go there. So maybe someone has so much money that that person will not have to spend or will not have to work again in his or her life because he has already earned so much money. So if we can take the richest people in the world, they might not, or their children, they might not even have to work and they could stay there enjoying on holidays. So someone who has already done so much good karma, the pious activities, for example, in the Bhagavatam, the mention is Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj. So these examples are there. They have already done so much that yes, they don't have to come back to material world. They could go and live all the time. However, when somebody will give you, like when you said this, so you can ask the boon. When you will ask the boon, then Lord Brahma or Lord Shivji, when they will say yes, you go to the spiritual world, then it's not that you will just leave and you will go, right? So for example, in the company, when you say that, can I go on holidays? They say, yeah, I give you the time off, you go on holiday. It's not that straight from the office you will go on holiday. You still have to prepare for it. You still have to earn money for it. You still have to arrange everything for it. Similarly, even if you got the boon, you still have to work hard for it. You still have to prepare yourself for it. And you use the word process. It is indeed a process where you know that you are here and you know you want to go there. How would you go? Right? You have to arrange something. You need to know what's the difference between these two places. Maybe in the direction, maybe in the elevation, maybe one is on earth, one is underwater. So you have to think of all those things. And then yes, somebody is facilitating for you, then yeah, it's possible you could do. Yeah, great. Okay, so that was the idea for today, that we will revise what we have done. So from tomorrow, not tomorrow, I wish we could do every day. We actually did every day in lockdown. And what we used to do in 2019, what we are doing now every Sunday. When during lockdown, we actually started doing every day. I think we did every day for a while. So, which was just great because of course we should read Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam every day. So we have done the setting of scenes and we have gone through the Mahatmya as well, the glories of Bhagavad-Gita, right? So we have seen Mangalacharan, we have seen this, or we have set the scene, we have gone through setting the scene, and we have discussed the Mahatmya. Now, thinking all that, from next week, and I will send the reminders to everyone, from next week, we will start Bhagavad Gita from the first verse, which we little bit touched the philosophy behind it. And there's a big purpose. If we have Bhagavad Gita with us, great. If we don't have Bhagavad Gita with us, then there is a website I share with you. And on that website, I share it here.
Prabhuji,
Hare
you
Krishna.
can also go to database.
Yes, thank you, Shivani. And I've just shared that link with you. And I've just noticed that Adi has joined. So definitely Adi hasn't got the time. But you've been here with us, Ishan. So I will let you go and I will stay here for a while for Adi. And take good care of yourself. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna, Ishan.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Look forward to see you next Sunday, 5 p.m. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Adi, good to have you. Hare Krishna. I hope you are doing well, Adi.